Hello everyone, and welcome to the Reddit Railway. My name is Victor, and I'll be your driver. Today's destination is r/EntitledPeople, and it's the second part to this story, so all aboard! So I have previously mentioned my co-worker Rachel from when I was working at a small Catholic newspaper and how she had basically conned the church into footing the bill for her son's education, something she and her husband could easily afford to pay themselves. She would then spend the money on herself buying fake tans, pedicures, clothes, etc. I mentioned that I did not and do not believe the husband knew at the time. I feel the need to once again reiterate the sheer entitlement of this woman. I mean, you could fill an entire mountain range with it and her audacity. As I said last time, she had decided that her nice husband was no longer worthy of her. She began complaining constantly about how he didn't make enough money, that she felt she was now too good for him. She also said she had previously dated a local business owner and was sure she could still have him despite him being married. This wasn't necessarily a lie, as it was an open secret this man had had several affairs. She then started bragging about how she could have any guy she wanted, and even mentioned she had signed up to several dating websites. This was back before apps were a thing. Something to note about her son is that he came by the office most days after school to wait for his dad to pick him up. While Rachel would stop talking about cheating during this time, she did make thinly veiled insults and derogatory comments about her husband in front of the boy. The poor kid tried to ignore her, but you could see he was uncomfortable, and when her husband would pick him up, she would always criticize him. He didn't pick up their son sooner or answer a call fast enough. He grabbed the wrong thing from the store. He wasn't dressed nice enough. He was dressed too nice. He wasn't smart, etc. One time he was a couple of minutes late to the pickup and she shouted at him in front of everyone. This woman did everything in her power to emotionally wreck this poor man. She even admitted he always treated her nice, and it irritated her because she felt like he wasn't a real man. Just to note, this not real man always remembered birthdays and anniversaries. He also got her flowers, presents, and other things. People, I wish I had a guy in my life that would treat me half as well as this. Her behavior got worse over time. At one point she got mad and spent the entire workday ranting and raving about how she failed to make her husband jealous. She had gushed over the way some random guy looked and thought her husband would go attack him, but he didn't. Instead, he just seemed defeated by her comments and walked away. By this point, she had destroyed most of his confidence. She had also started running their finances into the ground with all her pampering and purchasing. He finally started to notice and got some of his shiny spine back. He starts insisting that she cut back on her spending. She couldn't stand this and decides she needs a real man who makes real money and will lavish her with anything she wants at any given time. Enter the affair partner. She found the perfect patsy on a dating website, but I'm still not sure who was really using whom in that relationship. He lived in Canada and we're in the Midwestern US. They start the long-distance, fully emotional affair. She would gush about him at the office and print out photos that he sent. She talked about how wonderfully attentive and attractive he was, going on and on about him being rich and successful. This is important for later. I had also tried some dating websites in the past. Unfortunately, I seem to only attract creeps, which caused several issues. I will admit I was pretty biased against dating websites before this. I always thought they were a goldmine for scammers and liars. This is what led me to be wary of the affair partner. I did not trust this man on any level. It took her a while to even get the first picture of him, and it was almost a glorified headshot. It was apparently very recent and he looked very healthy in it. This is also important for later. She said he was going through a divorce. He said he understood what it's like being unhappily married. This goes on for months and he sends more pictures. In each one he's looking all fine and dandy. I come into the office one morning to see her standing by the copier in tears. She was utterly despondent. The reason? He had given her some bad news. Apparently he had been trying to figure out how to tell her he had brain cancer and only 6 months to live. Yeah, my bias reared its ugly head again. You see, me and a friend each had exes who pulled the I have cancer card to guilt us into staying with them after we broke up. Another friend had an ex who actually used that as an excuse to break up with her. A former coworker and some of my family also had cancer. When it got serious, none of them looked nearly as healthy as the affair partner did. I tried to tell her this, but she refused to listen. She said he wanted to come see her so they could consummate their relationship before it was too late. I just shut up about it. Sooner or later, I was sure the other shoe would drop. Anyway, she bought him the plane tickets to come see her. She also paid for a hotel. Remember how this guy was supposedly rich and successful? Why couldn't he pay for anything? Because all of his money was tied up in treatments, divorce, and other things. I began to see a bit of karma here. So he comes to visit. I did feel a little guilty thinking he might be a scam scammer since he actually looked like he did in the photos. I know this because she brought him to the office along with their son. Whoa boy. Remember the coworker who sponsored Rachel from the last post? She went off. She was the assistant editor and was basically second in charge. She tore Rachel a new one. She said while she couldn't tell Rachel what to do in her private life, which include having an affair, she could tell her not to bring her affair partner to this family-oriented Catholic business. What if the Archbishop were to walk in, she said. No, as long as Rachel was still married, she would not bring any affair partners here. Rachel tried to talk to our editor. He's usually a laid-back guy, but he backed up the coworker. Rachel was not happy, but he never came by again. Anyway, the trip lasted a week or so. What followed was several months of her flying him down to see her, all on her dime. She also sent him money so he could pay for some new miracle treatment that cured him of his cancer. That's when all hell finally broke loose. Remember when I mentioned that her husband had started asking her to limit her spending? Well, turns out he had also started paying closer attention to what she was buying. This was how he discovered all the money he had been giving her for their son's education was not going to the school. He also discovered the subscriptions to several dating websites and multiple airfare charges from Canada. He never actually confronted her. My guess is he wanted to get all his ducks in a row first. I only know she got worried as he started distancing himself from her. He had also started to become very cold, but she couldn't figure out why because she honestly believed he was too stupid to know she was having an affair. Yes, she actually said this. Then one day, it happened. I was in my office out back eating lunch while reading a newspaper when I hear a scream from up front. I swear it could have been heard in India. Everyone, and I mean everyone, came running out. We rush out to see a gentleman in a suit leaving the building. Rachel was clutching a batch of papers. She had been the one to scream, not out of fear but indignation. She had just been served divorce papers and she was having none of it. Somehow she managed to convince herself that she would be the one to serve him when she was ready, but she had not been ready just yet because she was waiting for her affair partner to propose. He actually did a while later, which again made me feel guilty for thinking he was a scammer. But I think what really stung Rachel was that among the divorce papers was proof of her affair. She hadn't seen that coming. Now, you would think this would be the end, that Rachel would be happy to let her unworthy husband go so she could be with her perfect affair partner. But no, if that were the case, then Rachel would not be nearly the entitled person that she was. She was not going to go down without a fight. She was going to prove she was the real victim in all this, even if it meant trying to commit a felony. But that, dear ones, is a story for another day. I swear, this time I didn't edit that last line. OP actually said that, and OP had a lot to say about the train wreck that is Rachel. Jesus, tap dancing Christ, what a lowlife. How delusional and ungrateful do you have to be to leave a loving partner for someone you met online? I'm not saying true love can't be found that way, but it shouldn't be used to start an affair. Hell, you shouldn't start an affair to begin with. And Rachel had some bloody nerve bringing the guy to her workplace, with her kid no less. And why did she go crying to her boss? What did she expect him to say? Oh yeah, sure, bring your affair partner around? No worries? There's no way someone could be that laid back. I would ask what she was thinking, but she clearly wasn't. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm not a fan of OP or her co-workers. By her own admission, everyone knew about Rachel's affair. Hell, the person who sponsored her outright said to not bring her lover to their business, but it doesn't sound like any of them tried to tell the husband. In my book, people who cover up or turn a blind eye to infidelity are just as guilty as those who commit it. Then again, he did sound incredibly browbeaten. Maybe OP thought he might have refused to believe it or just accept it, but since he was the one to file for divorce, it's clear he has more spine than anyone gives him credit for. Regardless, I'm a little salty towards OP. However, there is one more update to this story, so we'll see if OP is able to redeem herself. So until next time, thank you for traveling on the Reddit Railway, and we hope to see you again soon.